Okay, friends, it's 1 o'clock, so let's get started. Thank you for being here. I know everyone is busy dealing with so many different things, so it's really a treat and an honor to have you all here joining us. During the webinar, if you want to tweet about the webinar, just tag us at Ahava Media Group. We will answer questions at the end. So you see there's this like little handy dandy question box. Feel free to type in questions as the webinar is going. I won't be stopping at any point, but at the end, I will try to answer any questions that you ask with the time that we have. You will receive an access to the recording of the webinar, and we also have a complimentary ebook for you at the end, which is about email marketing in 2022. It will cover some topics I covered today, as well as other topics that we did not cover in today's webinar, or we won't cover. And then there is a survey at the end, and I know surveys are like super annoying and you answer a lot of them, but this is short, or you don't answer a lot of them, but you get harassed to answer a lot of them. And this one is really helpful for us. It just lets us know if we're doing a good job giving you the information that you were hoping to get out of the webinar. And it also allows you to tell us topics you'd like us to cover in the future. So let's talk about 2022, season 3 of COVID. But the fact is that got to get to work, got to get back to nurturing and capturing new leads, new patients, and any of your target audiences. So we're going to talk about some basics about email marketing. I'm going to point out good things, not such good things, and we'll just go through and we'll try to get a handle on how you can handle this. And the reason we're doing this webinar is because when one of us shines, all of us shine. I won't even try to do her accent. So let me just say this, I'm a huge Schitt's Creek fan. And if you're not a huge Schitt's Creek fan, it's either because you were not able to get through season 1 and 2, which I'm super empathetic about. You just got to plow through and get to season 3. There is really some phenomenal character development and they do grow on you. If you are a Schitt's Creek fan, then you are in for a lot of fun today because we are going to use these fun characters to illustrate some things about email marketing. Just a little bit about Ahava Media Group. I'm not going to do a whole dog and pony show sales pitch for you. Hopefully you're familiar with us. If you're not familiar with us, our mission is that we empower people to make the most important decisions of their lives. Healthcare is something that everybody who works here is passionate about, whether they've been through a bad experience in terms of healthcare or they just recognize how important it is to us, honestly, after the last 2 years. Who doesn't know how important it is to have clear communications when it comes to healthcare? And we have 3 lines of service that we provide. The first is copywriting, the second is content strategies, and the third is content training. If you're interested in any of those, please reach out to me after the webinar. Would love to discuss it. So this is our new content strategist. Her name is Ann Key. And if Ann is a classic American office worker, she receives about 121 emails a day. She has about an average of 200 emails in her inbox. And I know there's like inbox zero, that kind of thing. I actually look at all my emails and try to keep my inbox small. Otherwise, I lose it. But most people have an average of 200 emails sitting in their inbox. The average person spends 11 hours a week on email. 11 hours a week, and there's only like 40 hours that you're supposed to be working, so just think about that. And then most people only respond to about 25% of what comes into their email inbox. So already as marketers, we've got a massive issue because if people aren't even looking, opening, reading, interested, engaging with, and they're so overwhelmed by the amount of email that they get, we really have to be a lot smarter about how we're going to get their attention. The other part about email marketing is that you have to be really careful about it because if you make a mistake, it's glaring. In Ann's particular case, it was her birthday last Friday. Wish her a happy birthday. She's Ann at ahamediagroup.com, no E. And Ann got a happy birthday email from her dentist. Now, why dentists have jumped on this wishing you a happy birthday thing, I don't know, but all of them have. I even get an email from a guy I once went to a root canal for, like, I don't really want to be reminded of you, dude, but okay, whatevs. So it's nice to get another happy birthday, communication. But anyway, Ann got this email from her dentist, but unfortunately, and this is kind of sad, this dentist passed away 4 months ago. And I think what it illustrates to us is an example of where you have to be really careful with email marketing because it can get super creepy when you're personalizing it and then you're forgetting to do certain things that are going to make a difference to your audience. So let's just talk about what we're going to talk about today. The first thing I'm going to talk about is breaking through the sea of sameness 121 emails a day, chances are yours isn't going to be paid attention to. So what can you do to, up your chances of people looking at you? The second thing is we're going to talk about how you really define the purpose of what you're trying to accomplish when it comes to email. The third is we'll talk about how you actually feed this content beast, because if you have to send out emails every week or more than every week because you've got news items you need to send out, it can get exhausting to think about topics and how to fulfill that pipeline. The fourth thing we're going to talk about is letting data guide the way, and then we're going to talk about what you can do next. Let's just start off with this, okay? You need to think about who your targets are. Every business and organization is different, and when I actually show you some stats on when the best time to send emails are, our minds are literally going to get blown, because every business is different. So when these email marketing companies aggregate this data, they're looking at B2C companies that could have anything to do from hospitals all the way to restaurants. And so everybody is different, and everyone's going to need a different approach to how they do their email. So you really need to sit down and define who are your targets. Are they B2C? Are they B2B? Maybe they're business to practitioner or to doctors. And you need to think about how you're going to catch those people's attention very differently than the way you need to think about how you might be able to catch a consumer's attention. The third thing you need to think about is what are their pain points. Just to send them emails, to talk to them about what you're doing in your organization, no one cares about you. I hate to break it to you, but that is the truth. People only care about themselves. And so if they care about themselves, you need to make it clear to them how you're helping them solve those pain points. Then you need to ask yourself about what their typical day looks like. Are they an office worker? Are they a working parent? Are they somebody who's aging and needs to know about health and wellness tips for that stage of their life? And then the last thing you need to know is not just how you engage with them on a relationship level, but is the point of the email newsletter to actually give them information that can help guide them to do something? Is it a nurture campaign so that they see your name in their email inbox every day? Is it to get them to go out to your blog or your website and find out more information? Is it because you're actually selling something? And those are really the things that we need to think about. So I know a lot of you are like, oh my goodness, I knew this was going to happen. I was going to go to this webinar and I was going to get like super freaked out. If you want to drink right now, I'm totally fine with that. Be my guest. I think all of us have imbibed a little at weird times in the pandemic. But I think the important thing to know is that there are tools out there that can help you. So this is a persona. We create these based on clients' needs. And I think the primary thing you have to ask yourself is mapping out this journey of the person. What are the touch points? You can see them on the bottom of the screen here. What are the questions they need answered? And sort of building out more of a journey of how your email is going to intersect in that person's life. And I'm going to show you later some more like complex diagrams of how that all fits together within your content ecosystem. But I think the important thing to remember is that you know a lot of the answers to these questions. Dr. Benjamin Spock, who wrote the book on raising children for Gen X, not so sure how good a job he did, but one of the first things that he says when you open up the book is you know more than you think you do. And so you might know a lot about your audience. You just need to think about how they're interacting with you in a little bit of a different way. And personas and journey mapping can really help you get there. Okay, let's talk about my favorite thing ever, which is standing out in a sea of sameness, because personally, I think the #1 job of a marketer is to figure out how to cut through the clutter that everybody is dealing with. So let's just talk about Campaign Monitor did a survey of what people are really looking for when it comes to email marketing from the companies that they talk to. About 44% of them just don't want to hear from you as much, which is totally cool. I recently bought a piece of furniture from a furniture store online, and literally they've been emailing me every day since, and they have not been emailing me with when my piece of furniture is supposed to be delivered, which is what I care about. They've been emailing me about like 20% off this and 20% off that. I'm like, guys, I just put down a hefty chunk of coin on a piece of furniture, probably not ready to buy another one yet. 25% want more informative content, which I think is a great thing for hospital healthcare marketers to think about, because quite frankly, that's your job. Your job is to inform people about their health. 24% of them want more personalized offers, and that's where personalization comes in without being creepy. 13% want better visual design, which I think a lot of us ignore and we really need to pay attention to. And then 21% of people just really don't care and they're not helpful to us. So let's talk about how you're going to stand out. These 6 things really can help you cut through the clutter and help you get at how to talk to your audience and how to get their attention. So let's talk about subject lines, okay? All right. How do people decide to read? I teach a web writing workshop, and I always use this slide. For every single person, when they decide how to read, it's expectation divided by reward. What do I think I'm going to get out of this piece and actually reading this piece? And what am I hoping will actually happen? How much effort is it going to take me? So this is a hard thing to read through. It's kind of a wall of words. There's no headings. There's no way to break it out. It's a phenomenal story. It's well written. It has a great feeling at the end, but because it's coming at you like that, it's a lot to read, and somebody may choose not to read it because even though they think there might be a reward at the end, the expectation is that this is going to be hard to read. This is a lot easier to read, right? This follows a pattern of heading, body copy, heading, body copy, heading, body copy. And you do that with FAQs naturally because they lend themselves to this kind of template. But at the end of the day, it's really important to think about this. And here's why, for 2 reasons, not just when they get to the email, but how they see the email. So more than 50% of people, the numbers varied. I couldn't find anything as high as 60, one was 56%, but half of your people are looking at your emails on a mobile device. And so what that looks like is the from name, then the subject line, and then what we call that pre-header, what you see there in that pre-header text, right? And so that's the kind of thing where you need to think about, almost like when you write a meta description in SEO and you're also looking at what you're putting in your H1 and your browser title, what are they going to see first? How is it going to be displayed on the search engine? Here too, how is it going to be displayed on the mobile device? So this is my phone. I'd like to point out that my battery is pretty good. You know, I sometimes take screenshots and people are like, oh my God, you let your battery get to 19%. Oh my God, chill out. I'm usually near an electrical outlet. So here you see who it's from, right? Jacob Nielsen, Think with Google, the New York Times. And then I don't know how I got on this list, but I use it because I think it's like pretty interesting. I get all kinds of emails and I like to see what people are doing in the marketplace. But if you see the name, you see the subject line, and then you see the pre-header. And the pre-header is really the invitation to read. Now, in the case of Jacob Nielsen, I'm going to show you what the email actually looked like. This is lazy, and here's why. How to create a UX vision statement, clutter-free, ironic, one of the 3 C's for better charts, UX maturity model stages, and then mouse is king, which I actually kind of like, and I think maybe that should have been the subject line. But if you look at the how to create a UX vision statement, the real promise of what that is not the how to, you could just say create a vision statement and grab yourself, 6 characters. And then it says here, create vision statements using a collaborative research-backed process, obviously you're Jacob Nielsen, to increase team members' understanding and alignment of UX experts. So what if the subject line said increase team members' understanding and alignment of UX efforts? Or what if they just said UX vision statement and the pre-header was like increase team members' understanding and alignment of UX efforts? So that pre-header is an ad. It's the expectation divided by reward that you are looking for to create with your email subject lines and that pre-header text. Do not let your email provider pick that content. That will not help you. You want to think about that because, again, what is your goal with email marketing? To break through the clutter and actually get opened and read and interacted with. So the best that you can do is to keep that writing on those subject lines and that pre-header text, A, crisp, and B, a promise so that you can divide that expectation by reward formula. Here are some best practices for subject lines. 7-word subject lines have the highest CTO, which is the click to open rate. Please do not freak out about this number. I wouldn't go all the way down to 2 words. I wouldn't go all the way up to 11. You're going to run out of character space anyway. It's just a good median number of what gets opened the most. Use numbers in your subject line. So that reminds me of what we used to tell people about listicles. Remember when like listicles were a thing? Anyway, so if you want to say like 5 ways to create a UX vision strategy, or 3 ways to be smarter about X, 7 ways, maybe if you actually put the number 7 in the subject line, you'll even increase your CTO even more, and keep the subject line to 43 characters. Again, One of our account managers here, Laura Nightingale, has a great line. She says, best practices are not perfect practices, they're best. So you have to find what's right for you and, watch your data, which we're going to talk about at the end. Okay, here is something from my email inbox. This is not my mobile, this is actually my desktop, which shows you, what's there. I have no idea why I have this column here. I never look at it. I should probably get rid of it. But I do like having the date, and then here are the people that send me emails, and here are the subject lines. Now, Milestone Incorporated, I have no idea who these people are. I don't know how I got on their email list. It's totally, I have no idea. And then the subject line says industry news from Milestone, okay? I am not going to open that, right? Like, I have no interest in it. I don't know what it is. There's no expectation divided by reward. It makes zero sense to me. But actually, when I opened the email, it was perfectly targeted for me because it's why entity search is necessary for SEO success. And entity search is a really hot topic in healthcare. And that is something that I want to read the article about and learn more. So Milestone Incorporated, whoever you are, if you're on this, missed a great opportunity by giving me a specific subject line. If they had just said why entity search is necessary for SEO success, or SEO success, entity search is necessary, and then the pre-header text started talking about why, I would have totally opened it and been much more interested. Why did I open it for this? Well, because I was trying to prove a point in this webinar. That's not going to happen again, Milestone Inc. When you registered, you asked questions, and I tried to answer most of them in the webinar. It helped me craft the webinar, so thank you for those of you who took that time to do that. Somebody asked, are there examples of good subject lines? And I found this handy dandy list. I'm not going to read through all of them. You will get the recording and the slides, so you will be able to see what these are. And I'll take out all the Schitt's Creek memes, so you'll actually be able to see what's on the slides. But you can see that there are already formulas for writing subject lines. And so I think a really great thing to do is just play with them. We'll talk about that later. But here are some great things. Anybody who's on this webinar who's a writer knows that sitting down to a white page with a blinking cursor is sometimes the best and worst experience you will have in your professional day that day. So if you can already start with formulas that are proven to work, it's a great way to be able to use that as a template to put in the things that you want to say. Okay, now we are going to talk about clean design. Clean design is very important. Remember, expectation divided by reward. It also has to do with brand, which is what we're going to talk about. This is actually for the right person, not me, I don't think. Top concern for time and labor compliance, remote and hybrid workforce. Again, no idea how I got on this list, but like too many bullets, too many paragraphs, too much going on. I don't want to read through this. This doesn't work. And also it came through as a straight email, which actually might be a strategy of theirs. They may have found that their designed emails don't get read and opened, but I'm not going to read through this. I don't care. So one of the things I want you to think about when you design your emails is kind of this layer cake approach, which I showed you before with the FAQs, right? Question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. And we know from heat mapping studies where, they put goggles on eyes and they watch where they go, people do tend to scan the heading until they find the information that they want. Now, I just put this in because for those of you who are at lunchtime, this is a really great thing to see, right? So here are the headings in the layer cake pattern. That's the icing. Some people call it frosting, I guess, depending on where you are in the country. And here's the copy. Here was the copy art. So when you're writing a really great email newsletter, you want to think about the fact that people are going to scan that way well. Now, here's Shishmeds. I like the shortness of their email, of their paragraphs. I do not love these bullets. Best practices are 7 to 9 bullets in a list. But I do think that this is an easier email to read than the one I showed you before. This is from the CDC. This is actually a really great newsletter. They bridge the gap between actual research that's being done in health communications and health communications itself. So great thing to sign up for. I don't particularly love white text on a dark background, but I do think that they use this layer cake approach where they give you what the topic is about, and then they give you this paragraph, which I think could be cut up a little bit more nicely. But still, it's a better approach than the straight up approach of what we saw with the first example, and then the Shishmed where they could have used headers and had fewer bullets better. This is also from my email inbox, and this is the Fast Company, it's not just you. Science explains how. Now, it's not just you. So everyone's favorite word in their language is their own name, and their second favorite word is you. So Fast Company is actually using neuroscience to get me to open this. And of course, I'm like, it's not just me. It's not just me. Ooh, I want to find out. Science explains. I nerd out about that stuff. What's science going to explain to me? So I open this up. And there's this like a long article about Myers-Briggs, which don't really want to read. And I literally have to go 3 scrolls before I actually find the article that it is about, that I actually open for the subject line. Talk about bearing the lead. Now, some people may say, well, how that's part of their strategy. That's exactly what they're trying to do. They're trying to get you to read through all the other stuff. You know how like you go into a grocery store and they make you do like a million different things before you actually get to the thing you want? Target is also really good at that. You're walking into Target, you're spending $100, right? And I guess with inflation now it's like 150. So anyway, it's the same type of thing here. They're making me dig to find it. I think you have to think about whether or not that's really going to work for you and your audience, and what you're trying to get them to do with the email. But again, Fast Company is just trying to get me to move over to their site to read more of the articles. And I guess if they put that in the subject line, they think I'm going to scroll down and click through. Okay, let's talk about consistency. Oh my goodness, the amount of data there is about when to send out an email is like overwhelming, and it's a lot. It's really a lot. I'm going to give you what they say the best practices are. Again, we're going to talk about playing with your subject lines and your sending times. We're going to talk about how to interpret your data. At the end of the day, almost every study said Tuesdays is the day. Now, here's the question I would like to pose to you, dear friends. If everyone is sending out emails on Tuesday, then are the 11 hours that people spend an average week of looking through their email on Tuesdays? This is a question. So one might say, maybe breaking through the clutter is sending your email on a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Friday, or if it's health, tidbits, what are you doing this Saturday or Sunday? Maybe think about going to get a walk, or put it on your to-do list on Monday to schedule that mammogram. Whatever it is, you need to find a way to break through the clutter. So if everyone is saying to send an email on Tuesday, we got a problem. Then Thursday seems to be the next best day, although you'll find out that some people said it was Saturday. And then Sundays perform the absolute worst, which totally makes sense to me. I don't know about all y'all, but I'm like driving around to basketball practice and grocery shopping, and I don't have time to look at my email. And then Saturdays may work depending on the industry you're in. So again, lots of fabulous charts out there, lots of interesting things. Emails are typically open between 12 and 4. Maybe people are in like a work slump, creativity, and they need to open their emails. Maybe they're in a boring email and they just figure this is a good time to clean out their email inbox. Then this co-schedule report said, no, the best time to send is 9 to 11, because you see the peak and valley here of when people are actually opening their emails. So I don't know. I have to be honest, when I turn on my email in the morning, I actually tend to go through my email faster because I'm like spam, 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 junk, 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 junk. But if something comes in the middle of the day, I do tend to pay more attention to it. Again, that's me, n=1. Do not use that as an example, but do try to map out your personas and what their work life might look like. Obviously, consumers don't really want to hear from you. This is from Marketing Sherpa. Almost 90% of them just would prefer to hear from you monthly. That's not going to work when you're a marketer. But then the good news is that the second is at least weekly. Obviously, that drop is a big one. But I do think that you'll see that people really do like to hear from people, whether it's weekly or monthly. Never is about at 10%. So I don't know who those people are, but they're probably not your target audience anyway. Okay, now, so I'm doing this research, right? I'm not looking for you to feel bad for me, right? But I'm doing this research and I start reading this, all this different people are saying this is the best time, this is the best time. So here, MooseSend, which is like a MailChimp competitor, Thursday was the best of the weekdays. So now Tuesday goes out the window. Tuesday was the second best day. Okay, clearly Tuesday, Thursday, clearly Tuesday, Thursday. But then they're like Saturday had the lowest average date. Then they're like 8 to 9 a.m. is the best time to deliver them. And after 6 p.m., rates decline. So I do not want you to have this deep aching sense of dread. It's really not a good idea. Again, these are things you can play with. So this is the decision triangle at Aha Media Group. We talk about this all the time. We make decisions based on 3 different points. The first point is data. The second point is politics, which goes into resources, who gets to control the messaging, who gets to control how the emails go out. and common sense, what just makes sense. The beauty about email marketing is it can be experimentation all day long, all year long. You're going to find patterns that are going to work sometimes seasonally. You're going to find patterns that are going to work daily, weekly, depending on topics. In a healthcare organization, it's really going to change. So you have the ability to experiment. Send it out on a Tuesday, watch what happens. You don't get what you want, send it out on a Thursday. You don't get what you want, send it out on a Wednesday. Then you send it out on a Wednesday, you look at the data on Wednesday, and you're like, Tuesday was actually a lot better than we thought. So again, that is what I want you to come away with, which is experiment according to your audience. To sum up and make it a little easy, send them during work hours. Tuesdays and Thursdays are probably your best bet, but again, keep in mind your audience and your geography when you're targeting. Don't send them early morning or late at night. Don't send on the weekends, probably, unless you want to play with Saturday and Sunday in terms of health and wellness tips. Don't send during lunch hour, and what was that last one? Don't send during rush hour. Does rush hour exist in COVID? I don't know. I wouldn't worry about it. Okay, now I want to talk about recognition. And recognition to me, and this is the best way, in my personal opinion, to break through the clutter, is for the brand to show you that they understand who you are and what you want. So let's look at this email newsletter from the Cleveland Clinic. Okay, the Cleveland Clinic knows who I am, right? Look at these subject lines. Is there such a thing as a normal body temperature? That's helpful during COVID. The votes are in. Here are the 7 worst snacks. I got to know that. By the way, I ate 5 of them. Has therapy been on your mind? Find the right type for you. Yes, I think I need more than one therapist at this point. How to tell if you're allergic to metal? Not so interested in that. The best exercises for knee arthritis? Not so interested in that. Strategy for dealing with restless leg syndrome. Okay, clearly I think there's something wrong with my legs. High cholesterol foods to eat and avoid. That's interesting. I want to read about that. How to protect your lungs from wildfire smoke. Obviously, that was going on in the United States at that point. Can supplements improve your brain health? Oh my God, if something can improve my brain health, I want it. So they clearly know who I am. It would be better if I could figure out how to forward the slides. They clearly know who I am, and I'm loving this journey for me. Except for a couple of emails, they're really thinking about, this is a woman in her 40s who needs information about these types of topics. Now, this is Parsley Health. They're an alternative medicine practice out of New York. They send some really interesting emails, but then I got this postpartum can be intense, and I was like, oh my God, you don't know who I am. You don't recognize me anymore. We need to break up. So that is something that you really want to think about. You got to be really careful about what you send, because if it gets weird, they're not going to want to engage with you anymore. Here's something out of Michigan Medicine from the Rogel Cancer Center, their Thrive email, and they talk about sexual health during and after cancer treatment. They're totally right. People don't talk about that stuff enough. This is clearly a cancer center email newsletter, and they are thinking about topics that people want to know about. I'd like to point out there's one topic. I'd like to point out that the picture is very lovely and gives me good feelings. I'd also like to point out that the call to action is very obvious. Read the full article. Here's another thing from Cleveland Clinic. The reason I like it is for twofold. First of all, why and how to start an anti-inflammatory diet. Love that. It also assumes that I kind of know what that is, which I appreciate. They're right. They recognize me. I do know what an anti-inflammatory diet is, and that picture is very pretty. But what I really love about this is it says, what is the honeymoon phase and how long does it last? And it shows a picture of 2 men, which means that they're broadening their audience. They're making a statement about who they're writing for, and I connect with the fact that they're trying to be more diverse. This is how I know they really see me. Good morning, Vitals readers. Today's newsletter is 924 words or a 3-minute read. Thank you very much. I typically read this newsletter almost every morning because it tells me how long it's going to take, and I know I have that time. So if you're able to include how long it might take to somebody, and there's tons of formulas online that you can find this, that's a great way for you to recognize if you have busy personas, which if you don't, good for you. Let's talk about brand identity. So this is just design where there's consistency and it looks the same for every person every time they get an email from you. This is just cold and flu resources from Cigna. This is Walgreens. I love when they say better days ahead. You hear the COVID vaccine is coming. That's cheerful. It's nice. It's not too like purple prose, but it's like, hey, we're going to get better here. And it just looks like the Walgreens brand. I like the way that, you know, the bottle sort of swoops around, kind of like their font does in their brand. And then they have these little check marks here for their bullets, just nicely designed and really tells me who their brand is. This is Woot, an Amazon company, not so familiar to them, and our new content strategist forwarded this to me. Doc says I have a case of serious crap. Now, for some of your brands, this will not work. Putting a gay couple in your email newsletter may not work. For some brands, this is exactly what they want to do. They want to be cheeky. They want to be fun. That's one of the things we pride ourselves at Ahava Media Group. We're a serious agency. We do excellent work, but we're a little bit of hot pink. And so everybody has to decide for their own brand and their own organization what voice and tone is going to work and whether or not it really makes sense to sort of go at words like crap, words like suck. It just depends on what your appetite is and what you want to do. And then relationship is another way to cut through the clutter. So if you're trying to build a relationship with your audience and you're doing email, this is probably a really bad one to send. We thank you for choosing us, but we would like to let you know that due to high demand and increased cost of medical supplies, we may increase the cost of some services to help offset the cost. Which services? Why? Like, how much is it going to be? And then you're giving me a phone number to talk to? Like, that is not cool. I want an email so I can complain like that. So again, if you're building a relationship, have to be smart. Personalization helps to build a relationship. So this is one of my friends who just got schedule your annual checkup today. I blocked out his name, but by putting his name in, they grab his attention. His name was also in the subject line, and that's going to personalize the email and make it clear for everybody. This is Lehigh Valley Health Network. They're building a relationship. They're talking about things that matter to a working mother. And I love their calls to action. 'Tis the flu season. Quick onset is a clue. And you know that you can click on that. And that is going to tell you more about what to look for when your kid may get the flu or you may get the flu. So they're really thinking about their audience and talking to them in a way that's building that relationship with them. This is a great case study out of UCLA Health. Thank you to Anne for giving this to us. They sent out an email called Help Us Conduct Research on Mental Health. This is what it looked like. Only 2 scrolls down, had a lot of great information. See the headings, help us conduct groundbreaking research. We're looking for patients. You don't have to have depression to register. So again, frosting cake, frosting cake, frosting cake. Register now. They had unbelievable success with this. 713,000 people were sent. They had a 42.5% open rate. They had 11,000 people, or almost, almost 12,000 people click through to the study, and then a 55% registration. And I tell you this story because I think the important thing that I want you to take out of this is that if you're building a relationship with your audience, it's okay to ask them for help sometimes also. Bring them in, let them see the organization. Tell us what we can do better. What would work well for you? A lot of people ignore that, but a lot of times if they had a really great experience or a really bad experience, you're going to hear from them. So it's a good thing to remember that building a relationship isn't just one way with your email audience. It can also be asking them for their help and letting them know that you're there for them. The other really important thing that I think about this email that works well is that they are showing that the brand is committed to research, and research that's very timely and relevant for people right now. And that's a really good thing to let your audience know. Okay, that's how you can cut through the clutter and the sea of sameness. Again, no hard and fast rules, but some good guidelines and hopefully some good examples that help you. Let's talk about what the purpose of your email is. So a lot of people have been asking us about email marketing over the last 2 years because, again, most of our touch points with our audiences have to be virtual. They're not coming in necessarily to physical locations. They're not talking to their doctors or seeing them in the same way. And we have to think about how email is going to bridge that gap. But a lot of times we hear clients talk about marketing automation, and they're confusing what marketing automation is with the real what marketing automation actually does. So the first kind of newsletter that you're going to send is probably operational or news, right? Clinics are closed because of COVID. Snow day, can't see anybody. You got to wear a mask. Things that you need to let your your audience know, and things that the organization has to communicate about the organization. Sometimes people send just email blasts where, like, to their entire list, they send, curated content in a list. We're going to look at one of those. The second kind of email marketing is segments, where you actually segment the list depending on what you know about the personas and whether they've self-selected. Maybe they've actually come to you and said, this is what I'm interested in. The third kind is a drip campaign, actual email marketing automation, which is based on the behavior of the subscriber. You then trigger your email marketing automation software to send them a different email that has to do with what you think their behavior is and how it's going to lead them to converting to a patient, to a referring provider, to a buyer, whatever it is. So these are like sort of I think a good way to think about the differences in them. So let's look at an example. For operational news, this is a classic patient you have in an organization or a doctor that you're talking to that you want to let something that they know about, or a B2B client that you just, here's what you need to know. In the segments, you might have patients with a specific condition like orthopedic patients who got an ACL tear and may need to have physical therapy. And then you have a segment like a busy working mother who is going to be interested in some of these health and wellness tips, as well as things to know like, what do you do when it's a fever? Our, cold and flu clinic is open, that kind of thing. And then the drip campaign can kind of, based on the way that, let's say, the busy working mom responds to your emails, you can then trigger other emails to be sent. So I think an important thing to remember about what email marketing automation really looks like and what sending out emails look like. Ooh, whoops. So this is from the New York Times. This is an example of news. Breaking news, J&J quietly paused COVID vaccine production at a key factory, raising concern over whether it can meet commitments to deliver shots. Now, here's the thing about this. This is the job of the New York Times. The New York Times job is to let you know about breaking news, right? So from that perspective, it's important for them to send out these kind of email blasts. They probably have millions of subscribers, and it makes sense for them to send out a breaking news item. Probably doesn't make sense for most of the people on this email to do the same thing unless it's your responsibility to inform your audience about whatever industry you're in, if you have a newsletter maybe that's segmented like that. This is from Randolph Health. It's a pretty, just like that email blast, we're just sending you a curation of articles that we've compiled over the last month, and we just want to let you know Randolph Health is here for you, but there isn't necessarily a segmentation around this. This is NeuroPace. They provide an epilepsy technology solution that monitors seizures within your brain and could also stop them in real time. When you sign up, you are able to provide information about whether you're a patient, whether you're a provider, and whether you're interested in getting more information or actually speaking to somebody. So I signed up as a potential patient who wanted to know more, and they're a client of ours, and I get their emails, and they have these community chats where they bring people together to talk to ambassadors about what it's like to have this device. Obviously, having deep brain stimulation is a big deal. It's a big medical decision, and so they offer this sort of like, let us tell you what it's really like in these community chats, and they are sending this information based on a selected criteria that I pre-selected when I picked the emails. I could not find this in a healthcare newsletter exactly, so I'm going to bring you one from a consumer email newsletter. This is pure marketing automation. This is Terry John. I wore a Terry John dress to my son's bar mitzvah. They send me a lot of emails every once in a while, like when the subject line was looking for something fabulous to wear, and I actually was looking for something fabulous to wear. I clicked on this and they sent me back an email that said, we noticed you were looking at your category of dresses. So I went and looked at their dresses. They then sent me an email saying, hey, we noticed that you looked at our dresses. Are you interested in continuing that search? So that was a trigger action based on what I did. I also think, and this would be really great marketing automation, I have no idea if they do this, but the dress I wore to my son's bar mitzvah was actually navy and hot pink. So they sent me a picture of a woman wearing a navy and hot pink dress. If they really knew that they were doing that, that is like a level of marketing automation that's amazing. So that's real marketing automation. This is an example of Nationwide Children's Hospital email newsletter. You can pick how old your children are, so you prefer like the NeuroPace email, and you are able then to get emails based on how old your children are, and based on information and topics that you would be interested in, depending how old they are. For example, for me, I have a 19-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 13-year-old, so one of the emails that I would like to get is, what can I do to improve my brain and mental health? Are there supplements you can take for having teenagers? Somebody get on that. So let's talk about how you sort of map this email marketing flow chart out. This is kind of a simple one I wanted to show about what triggers look like. You know, they're looking here at, they send the offer email, what happens next? Do you then send them more emails? How does that go? So this is what true marketing automation or a drip campaign would look like, you know, just to give you an idea of how these are plotted out. Again, another one, just as examples. What I think is really important, though, is that in the patient and healthcare experience, I'm going to show you this is patient, then the next one is provider, it's more complicated because you're inside a larger content ecosystem. So if I want to buy a dress, I see the email, I go look at the dress. It's not that complex. I'm not going into a Terry John store because there are no Terry John stores. Terry John is sold through Nordstrom and, you know, Saks and some of those higher end. And then if you're really lucky, you can find one on Gilt. But the point is that it's more complicated for you as an email marketer in healthcare because you have a lot of other touch points that people are going to find your information on. So you really need to document and map out these tools along with providers. I don't think it needs to look this complicated, honestly, but I do think it's important for you to think about, if I'm really going to run marketing automation, what does that look like and how do I hold that up against my personas? And then once the thing about this is that you're going to need to get everyone involved. So it can't just be you on your own with your content team or your marketing team. It really has to include IT, has to include operations. So this is a really sophisticated way of doing this. And I would just say start small and see how far you get. Let's talk about feeding the content beast. So this is something I talk about a lot. Content is made up of 3 parts: information, format, and distribution. So the information is what you're trying to tell people. We want to let you know that we have amazing pediatric specialists here. What is the format for that? Well, the best way to do that might be a website. It might be emails. It might be social media. It might be direct mail. There's all kinds of ways that you can take the same information, write the content, and then tweak it depending on the format it belongs in. And then again, distribute it in a lot of different ways. You're not going to distribute a video through direct mail. Like, if you figure out how to do that, good for you. But you are going to put one on YouTube and you are going to put one on social media. You're going to put a longer one on YouTube. You're going to put a shorter one on social media. So there's so many different ways for you to take a piece of information, plan out different kinds of content, and plan out different kinds of distribution channels. And so one of the things that I hope this flowchart helps to communicate is, what's the information? Who is the audience, right? So there are a lot of people that are probably not paying attention to direct mail or not paying attention to social media. Let's say you're in an aging population, although apparently like the baby boomers are super into social media, sometimes with like a little scary results. So, you know, it really just depends on who your audience is and what they're looking at. Chances are a doctor is not going to be paying attention to you on Facebook, but would be paying attention to you on Doximity. What content format works the best for them? So is it a website article? Is it, you know, treatments and conditions? Is it a bio? Is it a, you know, I'm sorry, is it written? Is it audio? Is it a photograph? Like, what is really going to work for them in terms of the format that they're going to get? And then what channels are going to provide the best ROI? So again, Dr. Doximity, Dr. maybe not Facebook, Dr. LinkedIn, question mark. So really thinking about that audience, where they spend their time, and what they might want to read. So if you're marketing for teens, your best shot right now is TikTok and Instagram Reels. If you're marketing to, you know, a working mom like me, Instagram might be really great. I don't know, Facebook I have like a lot of questions about. I'm not on Twitter because I find it to be a dumpster fire. I should go there professionally, but I just don't because I get depressed about the state of humanity. So I got to protect my mental health. Maybe there's a supplement for Twitter. And other channels that I might be on. So just, again, plotting out that audience and then just thinking about your content as like Lego pieces that you can fit together depending on the formats you're putting them in. And that can really help feed that content beast, because you can take older pieces of content or content that was designed for other things and slide it into your email marketing. What happened to my advanced slides here? Okay, so this is an example from a patient journey map that I actually think is pretty simple. It's about pregnancy. Pregnancy is not simple, but the map here is simple, meaning you're thinking about all the different parts of the journey. So first, Sheila's got to take a home pregnancy test. She's got to be pregnant, right? And if you look at the top, they're looking at the timeline of what her life looks like, and they're talking about what's going to happen to her. Once you have that patient journey established, you can then say, okay, what are the pieces of content that are going to support Sheila at all of these different phases? You may not catch Sheila until 12 to 15 weeks when she starts thinking about where she's going to deliver her baby and she's going to sign up for your maternity center newsletter. So there may not be content for a certain part of your patient journeys, but there definitely is at some point. So thinking about what it actually is going to look like for them, whether it's inside of a neat timeline or not, you know, a cancer patient's journey could be years, it could be shorter, is a really important thing. And I think it helps get at what you're trying to get at. This is a very old graphic, but I love it because it really presents this point well about how you're sitting on top of a ton of content and you don't even realize it. This is a hospital newsletter about what to eat when you have cancer. It's an article inside of that. How many different things could you do with what to eat when you have cancer? You can put that on your blog. You can put that in an email newsletter with a shortened amount of the blog and then send them to the website to read more about the blog. You can embed video within your email. You can send them to video. You can have recipes. You could have, you know, a doctor and a nutritionist talking about what to eat when you have cancer. You can lead them to all sorts of related topics that have to do with nausea during cancer and, you know, losing weight during cancer, gaining weight during cancer, whatever it is. So there's a million different things that you have, and thinking about how to plan that journey and then how to plan those touch points and then how to bring that content into your email marketing is there for you. It really, really is. And then once you do it, you're going to feel amazing. So it's going to be fantastic. All right, last section, the section you've all been waiting for, let data guide the way. You just told us, Ahava, that sometimes data doesn't matter because there's like common sense issues. Let's just go over some of the basic stats that you need to know for email marketing. Most of you know this, but then I'm going to show you how to put it all together. So number of emails sent, pretty obvious, right? Open rates, how many people opened it? CTR, click-through rates, how many people clicked on a link? CTO, click to open rates. I'll show you that. That's a complicated mathematical formula. Unsubscribes, people who are like, not interested, leave me alone, we're breaking up. Bounce rates, their email doesn't exist anymore, couldn't get through their spam filter. Spam complaints, which is like, people are like, why are you sending me this? This is super uncool. Social shares, do people share the email to your social media channels? Do people forward the email? Do they find it that compelling that they're like, I want somebody in my friend or family circle to know about this? And then actual conversions, right? So in the Terry John dress, I looked at I got an email, look at our new dresses. Then I got the email that was like, are you looking for something fabulous? By the way, this dress looks like the dress you previously bought, and we noticed you were looking at dresses. So not creepy, like honestly, like we're following you around, lady, and we want you to know it because we care about you. If I had actually bought a dress from Terry John, that would be a full conversion. So you're gonna need to like figure some of this stuff out. Here's just what sent, open, and clicked looks like. 119 were delivered, right? So the delivery rate was 99%, which means that some of those emails bounced. 24 were open, so the open rate is 20%. Okay, they calculate the percentages for you. So fantastic. Who wants to multiply by 100? And then people clicked on 10. So the click rate was 8%. So of the 99% that were delivered, 20% were open, and then 8% were clicked on. This is the open rate formula. You just divide the total number of delivered emails by the total number of opened emails times 100, you get the percentage rate. This is the moment you've all been waiting for. What should our open rate be in healthcare? It's 19%. I don't know what that really means because there's all kinds of different healthcare. There is healthcare that sells consumer products. There is healthcare from marketing agencies who specialize in healthcare. There is healthcare that relates to IT and services like telewaiting and virtual waiting and all the telehealth stuff that we have now. There's healthcare that relates to financial services. So again, your open rate has to be an average of what your open rate was throughout the year, and then you can tell. Or you can say, okay, it's 19%, and we're going to use that as a benchmark. Again, no perfect science here. I really loved this chart because I thought it showed the whole like marketing automation versus like autoresponder versus newsletter here. So again, starting with the newsletter purple, that's just a blast. Then the autoresponder is what happened when, the drip campaign occurred, and then the triggered is they actually took an action, and that's what happened. So I think that you really see here, how these different data points can really help distinguish between the different kinds of campaigns or news blasts that you're doing. Bounce rates are just, hey, listen, like person doesn't work there anymore, the email isn't right, the domain doesn't exist, it's spam, it got caught in the spam, the mailbox is full, again, must have more than the 200 average. These are the social shares on social media. So does somebody actually forward your email? And now it's like how to actually use all this data. So this data is helpful, but it's kind of like search data. It's like, are these vanity metrics or do they really tell us anything? So here's the important thing you need to know about your data. Follow the trend line, right? So if you see a pretty specific trend and then it dips low or it goes up high, that's what you really need to spend a lot of time thinking about. Why is that happening? But monitoring the data in a dashboard allows you to do that. So one of the things that I was thinking is you could just talk about the information or the topic, test your subject lines. You should be able to do A/B testing. What was the business objective of the email? Like, what were you really trying to do? Were you trying to get people to register for a mental health study? Were you trying to get people to sign up for a webinar? Were you trying to get people to buy a product? You really need to know that. Then you want to look at how many people opened it. What was the click rate? Did they click through and actually pick a link inside the email? Did they share it? Were there any conversions? And what did you learn from the email? So again, the data by itself doesn't really help you. What the data has to do is help build a narrative around what's happening with your email marketing in general. And I think really thinking about the personas, what they're doing, and dividing it like that will help you, because if you're trying to reach out to a specific customer base, their numbers and metrics, let's say a working mother, let's say an aging senior, let's say a pregnant mom, those metrics are just going to look different because their interest in the topic and their age and their use of technology just is different. So again, if you're going to lump all your data together, it's not really going to help you. But if you use it to paint a picture of each thing that you're trying to accomplish, I think that data can be much more useful. Okay, whoa. Okay, so what do you do next? The first thing I want you to do is I want you to end this webinar. I want you to download our email book, and then I want you to like do whatever you need to do to clean your mind. If you've got to run to another meeting, you're going to have to run to another meeting. But I want you to just marinate on this. I gave you a lot of information. There's a lot of stuff here. It's probably feels somewhat overwhelming, so just marinate on it. Then the next thing I want you to do is I want you to pick whatever number of pieces data you monitor for a month. Maybe think about building your own dashboard. Maybe your software already has that in place. But what is the data you're going to monitor, and is there a specific audience or segment that you can monitor it for? And then you need to start making decisions about what really works for you, what's going to make sense. Do we have the right content? Do we need help writing our content? Do we need to refresh some of our content? Do we need to get out of this COVID place where we're constantly talking about COVID and we need to start talking about other healthcare issues? Whatever it is, you're going to have to make that decision for yourself, again, based on data, common sense, politics/resources. So those are the things that I want you to do next, because I think that they will really help you. And again, I'm a big believer in just like taking a deep breath. Here is the Rethinking Your Email Marketing in 2022, a quick guide to success. The topics that we cover in there are way more about marketing automation. You can see that Haley just clicked on the link to give you that, so you can go right to that chat and click on that link to download it. We talk about how to white glove new subscribers. I wanted to talk about it in the webinar, but I didn't have enough time. But how to really build marketing automation and how to really welcome your subscribers. HubSpot has some great stats about how if you start the relationship off right, you're going to have a better time along the road of keeping them interested and converting them. And then a little bit more about using your CRM platform and how your CRM platform works. I want to let you know one thing. I did not talk about the way your electronic health record works with your CRM. And the reason is it's a very gray area, and it's a very confusing, and it has a lot of HIPAA implications. And when you talk to certain people, they'll give you one answer. When you talk to other people, they'll give you another answer. And the answers seem to be, one, you can't do it, it's wrong to do it, meaning pulling reports out of your electronic health record about people and targeting them with email marketing based on that. So a way to personalize and segment based on a diagnosis. Some people say, yeah, there is some way to do it, because if they're opting in when they come in and they sign up, there's partly that legalese that nobody ever reads is there that says we can target you with this. And then the US government is like, no, we're going to fine you $2,500 every single time you do that. So again, not something that I want to touch on broadly. I think every circumstance is a little bit different. And I think that you have to talk to your compliance department and figure out what they feel about it. So just wanted to cover that topic. And now I would love to answer any questions that you have in the remaining 6 minutes that we have together. And I can finally take a drink of water.
Okay, I have some questions for you. One is, do you have suggestions for managing email automation when your organization has multiple owners? So for example, a heart team, a patient team, a women's health team, etc.
Yeah, so the first thing is that can you segment? Can you build an email editorial calendar somehow built on either seasonal trends, timing trends, strategic needs? And how do you control and govern that content if you can't particularly segment? So here's an example. You're going to write about heart and cancer differently than you're going to write, let's say, about, pregnancy or child rearing. So the language that you're going to use is going to be different. But if you only have one list, people are going to get brand dissonance based on what you're sending out. So if you can personalize and segment, that would be the best way to do it. And if you can govern the way the content is written, so they want to write the content and then you come in and apply brand standards to it, or if you want to train them how to write it according to your brand standards, I think that can work. But if you're blasting to everybody without recognition of that, you're really going to have tighter controls on the way to do that. Now, when you say people control the content, that means a lot of different things in a lot of different organizations. So I probably want to hear more about the specifics of the story to give a better answer, but basically a master editorial calendar and brand standards around the voice and tone of the emails.
Okay, another question. When we started developing our list, we didn't ask for much information. How can we entice subscribers to fill out a short survey so we can learn more about them without a financial incentive?
Yeah, so this was actually something that came out for Aha Media Group because we've actually made our email marketing much more sophisticated. Thank you, Haley, with Pardot. So one of the things that we tried to do is we tried to send out emails saying to people like, we've noticed you haven't been opening your emails as much. Tell us why. Is there something we can do to give you more information? So I think you could use the same thing in a B2C or B2B relationship as well. You could say like, hey, we want to give you stuff that you're really interested in. These are the personalization categories we have now. Go ahead and follow this link and you can click on what you want to get and they can segment themselves. You could also try to figure one out based on behavior, like do they open subject lines that have to do more with, moms and things like that. But again, that is going to depend.
And then what about re-engaging people who don't open your emails?
Yeah, so I think I kind of answered that. I mean, it's hard. You have to try a re-engagement drip campaign and see if they are interested. Maybe one of the things is going back to old content that you have and maybe repurposing and using it again to re-engage these people. I don't necessarily think it's such a bad thing that people aren't necessarily opening your emails. That doesn't mean that they're not seeing your name in their inbox. It doesn't mean that they're not paying attention to you at all. I think cleaning a list isn't such a bad idea. Maybe every 2 years, just if somebody hasn't opened an email within the last, 8, 9, 10 months, maybe just taking them off the list because they're probably not interested anymore. I think bounced emails should probably be cleaned off a list immediately, and most, I think, email CRMs do that. But I think re-engaging people who aren't interested anymore, there's so many different reasons why that could be. Their focus could have changed at work, their focus in life could have changed. It's a hard one, and there's no great answer to that question except to just try new things.
Great, last question. We kind of went over this a little bit, but do you have a suggested word count for brief emails communicating a single message to a really busy audience? The example is an audience of busy physicians.
250. use a lot of white space, give them other things that they can go to find information, but don't get too long. You know, do keep it as short as you possibly can, and keep the CTAs to 1 or 2. Otherwise, you're going to overwhelm them with choice.
Great, you got them all.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much. If you have any further questions, please feel free to email us. You can find my contact information right here. That's the dress I wore to the bar mitzvah. I didn't even think about that. So see how it has the navy and then the hot pink flowers? There you go. It all comes together. I just want you to know, for the record, I did not pick a dress that had to do with Aha Media Group colors. It just happened to be the dress that fit into the bar mitzvah theme, and that also looked good on me. So just so we're clear about that, I'm not that crazy about blue and pink. Great to see you guys. Thank you so much for coming. Again, if you have any questions and if you need help writing your emails or other content, please do reach out to us. We are experts in business to consumer, business to physician or provider, as well as the B2B space. Happy to help in any way that we can, and have a great rest of your day. And I hope you don't get any emails on a Saturday. Bye.